Hey there, and welcome to the behind the scenes of the Rustic Songbird Podcast. I'm Lydia Walker from rusticsongbird.com, and I'm taking you behind the scenes of an interview on the podcast. I hope you enjoy this video, but before we get started, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel. If you enjoy topics like this, we have new podcast episodes coming out every single week, and the behind the scenes will be here on this YouTube channel. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Also, if you enjoy this show, consider becoming a patron and supporting Rustic Songbird on Patreon. You can check out all the details at patreon.com/rusticsongbird. All right, let's get into today's show. My guest on the show today is Emmalee, and she was just recently on season 19 of The Voice. And we're going to talk to her about her new music coming out and also the behind the scenes stories of what it was like seeing herself sing on national TV, what it was like being coached by Kelly Clarkson on Team Kelly, and just overall her experience being on The Voice. This is such a cool opportunity, and I thought, why not bring her on the show? And guess what? This is actually her second time being on the show, but a lot has changed since then. So there's a lot of updates to talk about, and I'm just so excited to have her here. So Emmalee, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And also we have Darlene Ray here on the show. She has been the podcast assistant for a year and a half? A year and a half. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
It has already been that long. Amazing. She is my right-hand woman, and she's going to join us. So we've got all three of us on the call today, which is something fun and different for the show. But Darlene has some questions as well, because we both followed Emmalee on The Voice, and we're just cheering her on the whole way that she was on the season. And so Darlene's going to be popping in here too with some questions. But first off, Emmalee, share a little bit about your music and what has happened to get you this far.
Yeah. I know you know my story, but for anybody who doesn't, I started writing music when I was 11 years old. My parents got me a guitar for Christmas, and it really just like unlocked so much creativity and just a way to express myself. And I, just slowly began like working on my craft, working on writing, and really at the time it was just something for fun and to express myself. And I realized a few years in, I was like, man, I'm really passionate about this. I love doing this. And Lydia, you were somebody who really poured into me and encouraged me really early on to go for it and to pursue music. And that has meant so much to me. So I released my first EP when I was 13 years old, and it was nothing special, but it was out there. And I think it boosted my confidence as an artist, just to be like, okay, I put an EP out, let's keep going. Fast forward several years later, I started writing for film and TV, which is something new and really fun for me just to experiment with and figure out, and began writing mainstream music. And, I just love that with all of my heart. I just love writing and expressing myself. And so released a few singles last year, and then COVID hit and all the craziness began. And it was, for everybody, it was like, what do we do? But for artists, it was really challenging to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? We're not playing shows. I'm a worship leader, and, we were virtual for church for several months. And so that was a really difficult thing to figure out, okay, what am I going to do now? And I had seen in January, actually before the pandemic hit, that The Voice was going to be in Nashville. And I had auditioned once when I was 17. And it was not a bad experience by any means, but I wasn't ready for it. And I was like, I never want to do that again. I'm never going to do that again. And, I had prayed about it. I was like, God, this is just not the right opportunity. It's not the right door, and you're closing it. And then I saw that The Voice is going to be in Nashville in January. And I was like, I don't know why, but I really want to audition. And so I talked to somebody, and I was like, is there any way that I can get a private audition? And most people don't know how many auditions are beforehand, before you even get to the recorded portion. And so, the door opened, and I was able to get a private audition in Nashville. And that's such a fun experience. And you meet a lot of people just right there in that circle that you're like, I wonder if I'll be sitting in LA with these people in a few months. And I actually sang my audition song, How Will I Know, in Nashville. And got an interview and went through the process, and they were like, okay, well, you'll know by March. It's crazy the amount of time that you have to wait. It's like, you know what, that's great, you'll know by March. So then obviously March really changed, and we continued to get emails from The Voice of, we don't know what's going to happen, and we don't know what the process is going to look like, so just stand by. And then in April, I got an email saying, we're fast forwarding everything. We're bypassing executive auditions in LA. We're going straight to blind auditions, which is an awesome email. Like, that's a great thing to get. I about threw my computer. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't even have to go through all the other like steps. I just get to audition. And so, flew out to LA in July. And I mean, it's crazy to think that this, it's been a year, basically a year's worth of auditioning for the show. So it's crazy. And, began the process of auditioning, which is a very lengthy process. And it's about a month's worth of, well, in our case, it was several weeks of quarantining once we got there, only ordering room service, not leaving our rooms for any reason at all, and literally calling my mom every day, several times a day. I'm bored. What do I do? And so, and like, at first I thought, man, this view is beautiful and I get to look at the California hills. And then about, 2 weeks later, I was like, I want a different view. Yeah. And so, that was just crazy. And then, like anything, we were kind of like guinea pigs. They'd never had to deal with the pandemic before. We were being tested 3 times a week, wearing masks everywhere, not really able to hang out much. And but through it all, it really was a great experience, and I learned a lot, and it boosted my confidence as an artist. And so you have a month's worth of wardrobe, which is like, I think any girl's like biggest dream. And then band rehearsals, and this band is the best that I've ever played with. They're top-notch professionals. They're amazing. And then you finally get to your audition day, which was just the craziest and most stressful experience of my life. There were so many delays that happened right before my audition, and it's just the nature of TV. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. And with the pandemic on top of that, they had several people in isolation that weren't going to get to audition that got cleared to audition the last day. And I had been called the night before at like 10 o'clock saying, hey, you're going to get to audition tomorrow, which was so crazy. And so, then several people were rushed to auditions and got to audition before me. And there were breaks that we didn't expect and all these things. And I'm backstage and I'm hearing, my team is full. And I'm like, listen, I'm not going to get to audition. Like, this is not happening. And, through all of that, I can say that, like, I had an overwhelming sense of peace through it all, which is just, amazing. And God is so good for that. And finally, they were like, okay, you've gone through makeup like 3 times. We're sitting you through one more time. You actually get to audition. And so, stepping on that stage, singing a Whitney Houston song, which is, just an incredible honor for me to be able to redo a Whitney Houston song, make it my own, and hopefully make people forget that it was ever a Whitney Houston song, because that's not my goal, to sound like Whitney Houston. She's incredible. And so, and within the first few notes, John Legend turns around, and then Kelly Clarkson turns around. And
insert me screaming at the television.
Loved that moment. I was like, yes.
Yeah, so cool. So just amazing, validating. It's like, these people are incredible, and they're some of the best at what they do, and they hear something in your voice that's unique and special. And so, I mean, that's just incredible. And from the get-go, I knew that I wanted to be on Team Kelly. And, I grew up listening to her music. I loved American Idol, and like my mom and I watched that religiously. We love American Idol. And so, just to see somebody who came from a similar show and a similar background was, I was like, I just feel like she has so much knowledge and wisdom. And so, I knew right then, I was like, I'm on Team Kelly. And, then moving forward, we went into battles and, I'm not really a super competitive person, honestly. So that really stretched me out, out of my comfort zone. I was like, I I like to stay in my lane and do what I do, and I'm not really, super competitive. And so, but I made one of, the best friends that I could have on The Voice in Kelsey, and she's incredibly talented. And we really just like, it's so awesome when you get to collaborate with another artist and with another woman, and there is not animosity and there really isn't competition, and you can just support one another and lift each other up. And that's exactly what we did. And there couldn't have been a better song for us to sing either. I Love Me by Demi Lovato. It's just like such an empowering message. And for us to just encourage one another and say, you know what, we're women and we have all had these thoughts and we've all had these struggles, but those are not the things that define us. We don't have to tear each other down to feel lifted up. And so I'm so happy for her that she got through and got to go on to knockouts. And I wish everybody could have seen more of our battle than they got to, but that's okay. That's part of TV. That's like a possibility when you're going into it. And so just the experience of being on the show is such a huge opportunity, and lots of doors are opening because of it, and lots of new music was written in LA, sitting in a hotel room by myself for several months. So all exciting things. Yeah.
That's so good. And I know they didn't show very much of your battle. It became a montage at the very end of the episode. Me and Darlene were both disappointed in that, but we wish they would have showed the whole thing. But what was the feedback you got from the coaches at the battle that we didn't get to see on TV?
Yeah. So man, the feedback was just overwhelming, and actually it was split evenly between the coaches of who they would choose. And Blake had actually said, he was like, man, I think this is the first time that I've ever made a mistake in voice history and not turning around for either of you.
I can't believe they didn't put that on TV of him admitting that.
I know. But, just very uplifting. And, it like Blake and John were both like, I would choose Emma, and that, is super validating. John was like, I would buy your record and I would want to listen to your record. And that's such a compliment, like such a validating thing to hear as an artist, like not just you're good or you have a great voice, but I would buy your record and I would listen to it. And that's exactly what you want to hear as a songwriter and as a singer. And so, that was super validating. And Kelly took about like 20 minutes to choose between the two of us. It was like really different. And the whole time I'm just thinking like, I just want to take these shoes off. Like I'm just like, I just want to get these heels off my feet. But, just really like overall, it was not anything that caused either of us to doubt our talent. It was like validating. And certainly I wish we could have gone sooner when there were steals and saves on the table, but there weren't. And that's okay. And, ultimately it was just like such a great experience, and they were so just validating of both of us.
Yeah, I love that they appreciated your artistry, because you are such an artist. You're a songwriter, you're a performer, you're the whole package, and they saw that, as people in the industry who have been around it. And just to hear them say those kind of things and just know like this is the real deal and they see it is so cool. I know Darlene had a question about working with Kelly, so Darlene, go for it.
Well, I actually have about 4 questions now that she's talked for about 15 minutes. My first question is, like, when you're in the hotel and doing all that, do they give you an advance for room service, or do you have to pay out of pocket for that? Because that's
a lot of room service.
Yeah, that is a lot of room service. No, they cover everything for us, and they make sure that we're taken care of, and which is awesome. So we had a balance on the room, and
That's awesome. And then, did you get to keep your clothes?
I did, actually.
The suit?
The suit. Yep. Yeah. I got to keep the suit, the dress.
It was epic, by the way.
Thanks. That was my number one pick. You know, we try on like 4 or 5 looks and they take pictures and then they choose what they want us to wear. But that was my number one. So I was super happy when they were like,
you rocked it.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
And then what was the best advice you got from Kelly behind the scenes that we didn't see? Because I've seen her in concert once with when Kelsey Ballerini opened for her. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to go for Kelsey, but it'll be a great show. And then she came out and she sang A Moment Like This. She opened with it a cappella. And I'm like, okay, this girl's a singer. This is going to be a great show. And she brought Reba out as a special guest. So that made the night even better.
Of course.
But she is just so phenomenally talented. And the way she sings up the octave every single time, like up into the stratosphere, I can't.
Yeah, it's incredible. She really is. And like, you know, of course there's like every part of me was freaking out when we go to our battle practice. And you know, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to meet Kelly Clarkson. Like and she's gonna hear me sing. So and like critique it. It's crazy. So you know, I think the biggest takeaway for me was just, you know, her confidence in who I am as an artist, and that was very clear to her, like my unique viewpoint and tone and, you know, liberties that I take with songs. And, you know, when you're competing in a battle with somebody like Kelsey, there is of course a temptation to just belt everything. And, you know, that can start to sound like Battle of the Bands. And she told us that. She was like, you know what, your place is not to belt everything. And you have a tone and you do all these quirky things with songs and unique things with songs that Kelsey doesn't do. And so lean into that and use that. And, you know, actually, what you didn't see is that we totally reworked this song in our rehearsal with Kelsey. And it went from like this epic pop upbeat song to like a stripped down acoustic intimate song. And that really enabled me to be able to use those spaces to show off my tone and my artistry. And so, you know, that was just a huge takeaway for me, that it's not always about just, you know, belting something out and impressing people, but it's about, you know, artistry, and it's about tone and expression. And so, you know, I think that was really the biggest takeaway for me of just what she pushed me towards, that it was like, no, this is what you do, and this is what you do really well. So lean into that.
So good. Well, I'd love to hear from your perspective of what the response has been from people since you've been on TV and people are finding you through The Voice. What has the response been like, and kind of your reaction to that?
Yeah. So watching myself on national television was like the weirdest experience I've ever had. And I had just like a handful of friends and family over, and we watched my audition together. And I think I was more nervous watching it than I was performing. It's like,
oh girl, you know, I was sweating. I was sweating the whole time. I'm crazy. Like, ah!
It's insane. And I was like, you know, we do a ton of interviews, and, you know, we're sitting in a room for like 45 minutes to an hour interviewing, for them to take about a minute of that and say, this is who Emmalee is. And so, you know, in my mind, I'm like, oh, I don't know what they're going to say and what they're going to put in there. And, you know, what if people don't like me? And, you know, all of those things are running through my mind. And really, I was really happy with the story and, you know, the way that they portrayed me. I was, you know, really thankful that I got a lot of airtime, really. And, you know, was just able to show how much I love music, and you know, that came through. But you know, the response has just been overwhelmingly positive. And I had some fears in the back of my mind of like, what are people going to say about me doing a Whitney Houston song? And, really my hope was just that it was obvious that I am a songwriter and I'm an artist. And so, I hoped that what I did with that song just like made people forget that it was ever a Whitney Houston song and that it just felt like me. And, I think that I was successful in doing that. And so, the response was just overwhelmingly positive. And it was like, I can't believe you did a Whitney Houston song and you nailed that. And, that's just awesome, and gained a lot of like new family and new friends through this experience, and people who, not only were excited that I was on the show, but are excited for what's coming and the new music that is coming and supporting the old music. And that's the best, that's the best part. And that's what you want as an artist is, just to bring people along on your journey and continue to share songs and continue to tell your story and express other people's story that they're not able to express in that way. And so, the response has just been incredible. And of course, Clarksville is just, I would consider it my hometown. And, Clarksville has been just above and beyond supportive, and people, that I've never even met, I've been able to connect with because they're from Clarksville and they, saw me representing on The Voice, and that's really awesome.
It is such a cool experience and so many doors opening because of being on the show, but your music and your voice were amazing before that, and you've written amazing songs and you'll continue to do that. So it's just giving you a bigger platform and more attention on what you're already doing as an artist. So I want to hear what songs you're working on right now, what you're going to be putting out in the new year, kind of your plan for your music going forward.
Absolutely. I'm so excited for this year. It's going to be such a good year. And it's definitely gonna be much different than 2020, I hope. And
let's just agree on that.
Yeah, like
different
that's
and
what
better.
We all hope. Right, right. And so I just released a Christmas song, my rendition of Go Tell It on the Mountain, and that was just so much fun to do, so much fun to experiment with. And I'm really happy with how it turned out, and all the streams that are happening and editorial playlists and all that exciting stuff that's never happened before. So a lot of firsts happened with this release, and I'm currently working on the plan for an EP this coming year, and I'm really so excited, just to share this story that I feel like has been on my heart for a really long time, and something that I started thinking about in, January of this past year. And so I'll be in the studio this coming year, working that out and getting those songs ready. And you should be expecting something this coming year. I don't have a date yet, but it's really exciting. But a new EP is in the works, and lots of new songs I'm so excited about. And I really think that this will be just a different direction than anybody has seen me go, and I'm really excited just to share who I am as an artist and a songwriter, and that's really exciting. And I mean, I just feel like this past year has been a year just to continue to hone in my craft and my skill as a songwriter, and I want to continue doing that and putting out great music and music that touches people.
Yes, and I am so proud of you for going for it and being true to yourself as an artist. And I know that your faith has impacted your music so much, and it will continue to, be the driver in the background, whatever style or genre you sing, whatever platform you're on. You're just such a beautiful person inside and out. And I know I'm very proud of you and will cheer you on the entire way. I'm so happy with all the success, and just know it's going to grow from here.
Thank you. Thanks.
So what's the best way for people to connect with you online and to hear your music?
Yeah, so I'm on all the social media platforms. You can find all of my links on my website, emmaleemusic.com. And you can find Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, wherever you listen to music. It's all on my website. But I would, greatly appreciate it if people followed me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. But you can find everything on my website.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time today and sharing some more behind the scenes of being on The Voice, what it was like for you. I wanted to hear from your perspective what it was like, and it seems like a crazy ride. So thanks for being willing to share some of the the gritty details of what went on. And I am glad that it was a positive experience for you overall, even though there were a lot of waiting times and a lot of difficult obstacles to overcome. You made it happen, and it was such a cool thing to watch you be on the show, and we're excited for what's coming next. So thanks for being on the podcast today and sharing some of your story.
Thank you for having me.
Real quick, I want to say a big thank you for watching this behind the episode here on the YouTube channel, and I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel for more topics like this coming soon. We have new episodes of the podcast every single week, and share the behind the scenes right here on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Also, if you enjoy this podcast and want to show your support, consider joining our Patreon community to support us on a monthly basis. You can check out all the details at patreon.com/Rustic Songbird. That's patreon.com/Rustic Songbird to become a patron today. Thanks again for watching, and make sure to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.